Alrighty, welcome to our class that I kind of tongue-in-cheek called Serving the Subconscious, right? It's not exactly a appealing title, but it speaks to something that's happening in our world, which is we're unconsciously serving our subconscious mind all the time to no fault of our own. It's just kind of the software that's in there that's running our lives to a large extent. But before I just jump right into that, I'll give you a little outline of what we're going to do tonight. We're going to do a brief introduction and then we're going to speak a little bit about to the subconscious, why it's important, how to work with it, and how to use a specific technique to get some really profound results in removing or dissolving these subconscious blockages. After that, we're going to do some live inquiry. So, if you're on camera, if we can see your face, that's a little more enticing to let us know that we can call upon you to do that live inquiry. And so we'll run through it with a few people so you can see it in process, how it works, what happens. And even if you're not, the person that's in the hot seat that's getting this, that's okay. You can just follow along as we do it for the group. Because there's something really cool called mirror neurons. And what it is it's your brain, your body, it's actually following along with the inquiry and the healing process that somebody else is going through, right? Even neuroscience, it shows that when you witness another person, when they're moving from fear to resolution, your own nervous system matches that and it starts to do the same. So if you're really present with this as we're doing that inquiry process, it's going to reveal something for you. You get to do the inquiry. It's something that can be done as a personal practice, something that you can do with an expert guide, something that you can experience in a group. In fact, me and Grace probably both have stories we could share of where we were in group inquiry sessions and had some really profound breakthroughs just following along, doing it with somebody else. So that's where we're going, and then after that, we'll do some powerful Q&As. Hopefully, they'll be powerful. It depends on your questions, but we want to stick around and just field whatever and kind of work with you through those questions. So that's kind of the lay of what we're doing tonight. Yeah, Grace, if you want to introduce yourself, I'll let you start.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's such an honor and pleasure to be with you all. Thank you for coming here. Thank you. Thank yourself for coming here, but also we thank you because this work is more powerful the more presence is brought to it, the more that we co-manifest this healing for ourselves. Like the more people are present to this experience, the stronger the experience for the collective. So thank you for bringing your energy and your time and your presence with us. Yeah, Brandon and I know each other from being trained in integrated somatic inquiry by the same mentor and having a profound experience in group coaching calls with that mentor. And so I feel so honored and fortunate to be able to pass on this medicine and this style of coaching and inquiry to you all. A little personal background. I am a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. I have a practice in San Diego, but I'm also an online coach specializing in relationship work. And of course, this process that we're here to facilitate integrative somatic inquiry. So thank you guys. I'm so excited to see what unfolds.
Woohoo! Yeah, amazing. Um, and a little bit about me. I was originally trained as a clairvoyant. I found a psychic school when I was about 16 years old after being trained as a Reiki master teacher. And so I learned and then ended up teaching and guiding a whole psychic school in Boulder on anything from, intuition, awareness, channeling, hands-on healing, studied with the psychic surgeons in the Philippines that were world renowned for pulling out physical objects out of people's body. I went really deep into the woo for a long time there and had some pretty profound results with what I would consider awareness work, right? Even my Instagram name is Awaken with Brandon. And the reason I bring that up is because while awareness work and mindset work is incredibly powerful, I still had a lot of symptoms in my body and unresolved patterns that were still at play in my life. I still had Crohn's and colitis symptoms. I had mast cell activation syndrome, SIRS, you name it, I had it basically, to the point where I could eat three foods, was even on a feeding tube for about 3 months, pretty severe deterioration of health. And that's actually where I came across GNM and ISI, which is just the, little letters for the thing that we're walking you through tonight. And it added a somatic element to that awareness work. So instead of just being aware of what was going on in the subconscious, since that's the topic tonight, we were also becoming aware of the why that's behind it. And not only that, but we're finding those answers through the body, not just through being aware of it alone, but also tapping in and really being able to feel where that's stored in the body, feel it to heal it. And that makes it so it's a release, not just from the mind, but also from the body. Sometimes when you release from the mind, the body will follow, but you can make that a little more profound and immediate if you're already connected into the body in a meaningful somatic way. And so this has been something, like Grace said, that I studied under the same teacher as her and got mentorship in and applied it, integrated it into my practice, having done 1,000+ readings for people, and just found really profound results both for myself, my own healing, and my clients. And so now it's something that I really lean on is one of my main tools for working with people. So that's us in a nutshell. Not that you asked. Happy to hear who all of you are too. If you want to drop it in the chat, I know we have a few messages there. But otherwise, I want to get on with it. I want to have fun and start this party on the subconscious. And you can drop comments along the way too if something resonates with you or lights you up. Whatever. You can drop it in there. Or if you're eating a juicy steak, I like that comment too. Put it in the chat. But let's get into it. So, what is the subconscious? The subconscious is this thing. It's kind of like, a roommate who's living in your house with you. They're eating all of your food. They're adjusting the thermostat constantly, but they say, "No, I don't really live here. I'm just crashing on the couch." But they've been there longer and longer and they're kind of running the show, right? It's like, "Okay, we need to do something about this." And neuroscience will explain the subconscious as being what governs 90 to 95% of your actions, of your life, what you're drawn towards, what kind of career paths you move through. It's the thing that's really running the show. But I would say most people are only aware of their conscious thoughts, right? Which can be a problem when you're trying to be self-aware and do this inner work, do this healing work. If you're only aware of the conscious, you're kind of missing the whole point, right? And I'll give you an example of that later. I don't want to fully get into it yet, but I'll give you some examples. The other thing I like to speak to with the subconscious is you can think of it this way. It's almost like I like to say it in kind of a funny, it might come off as a little bit rude, but if you think of yourself as having this toddler that's just having a tantrum inside of you and they're kind of living in the background of your life, right? That's your subconscious, that's your psyche. It's constantly scanning for things that are perceived threats, that remind you of past events that happened that were troublesome, that were conflicting to you. It's subtle but not so subtle, just looking out for you in your life and what's going on. You could say it's the thing that's there that's applying meaning to your experience, right? It's kind of like if you had um, somebody who was narrating your life going along with you the whole time, but that narrator is by and large this toddler that's having a tantrum, right? Because your subconscious was really heavily affected in your early childhood, and so it's still seeing the world through that lens, right? And we could get a little mystical about it, and I would say that it's not something that you just inherited from your environment or your parental situation, your upbringing. A lot of therapy likes to blame everything on your first 8 years of life. And it's kind of true to some extent, but I would go a little further to say that you actually came into this life with those constraints. You actually came into this life with spiritual lessons that you wanted to learn. You came in and you're not fully integrated in the total wholeness of your being. And so you're born into families and situations where you perceive the world in a certain way that then sets up your psyche to then see your life that way. Because it's like the saying, no two children have the same childhood, even if they're brothers and sisters, even if they're twins, because they're perceiving it through a totally different lens. And that lens isn't just genetic, it isn't just random. It's your own spiritual constraints. And so those really shine through the subconscious, right? And so we don't realize it, but we're kind of like interns that are just working 24/7 for the subconscious. It's going to tell us, don't go there, and we obey. It's going to whisper, you're not enough, and you're going to believe it. And you're going to start to make choices that are based off of that belief. And one of the fun things about the subconscious, which you could also call the psyche or the ego, there's various words for it, but it always seeks to prove itself right. It's looking for evidence to confirm its belief about the world because that's its way of navigating survival. That's its way of navigating. Is this safe? Is this not safe? I've been through this before and I survived, so let me continue to go through that. It starts to confuse familiarity with safety. And so it doesn't let you step outside of that internal prison, step outside of that box that you're in. And biologically, you see this is something called a DHS, which is it's like a core conflict you experience in your life where you're isolated, it's unexpected, and it's shocking. It's significant to you. Something happens that catches you off guard. It's not capital T trauma like a lot of people are looking for. Like, I bet a bunch of people in this room, you can raise your hand, physical or otherwise, if this is true for you, but you've probably done a lot of work to either regress to a past life or regress to a memory or to try to process and work through some trauma, right? And that's good, that's great. But oftentimes, those aren't the traumas that are keeping the subconscious mind believing something that's then fueling your life. It can sometimes be a lot more subtle. I was working with a client the other day who, for the first time, her mom and dad didn't pick her up from school. She didn't know that was an experience that could happen. The teacher's getting mad. They want to go home. They're getting frustrated. It's not a common thing that if you're sitting across from a therapist, you're going to go, oh, yeah, my biggest trauma is when my parents were 20 minutes late. You wouldn't think of that, right? But that's unexpected and shocking to a kid's psyche, to this subconscious mind goes, oh, this is a possibility. I can be let down. I can be abandoned, whatever meaning was assigned there, right? And then they start to live their life to protect against that. What can I do to not feel abandoned, to not be abandoned? And this is where the ISI process that we're going to get into is really helpful because you don't have to sit here and think about all these things. You just got to go into it intuitively, somatically, and you get guided to them, especially if you can get out of your own head and just really let it be guided. You get there much more easily, right? And, you can kind of think of it like if your subconscious installed Windows 95 in your brain and you've been running your life on it ever since. It's just this old, sort of outdated program. And that's where my cheeky title comes from of we're serving the subconscious because we base our whole life around this belief that we've had from one of these DHSs, from one of these core conflicts. Instead of serving God, instead of serving love, truth, we're serving the pattern and to no fault of our own. That's just the software. That's just how we're wired. And then inevitably, we start to justify our own prison. We start to find ways to justify why it makes sense. And in some ways it does. It's innocent. It's where you tried to protect yourself ultimately. It's a protective mechanism, right? And life is always sending you people, circumstances, opportunities to see that prison and to break free of it. And that's why it feels like you have these repetitive patterns where you're like, oh, why do I keep having the same crappy relationship? Why do I keep fucking up this job? Why does this keep letting me down? Right? Because life is saying, hey, hello, you want to be free. You want to come back to wholeness. You don't want to keep serving that subconscious pattern. You want to serve something higher. But what do? We fight off all of those people that are coming to free us. We say, no, 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 I don't want that. We start to attack the thing that's trying to set us free, or we try to just survive it. We try to just make it through. We try to hunker down, but that doesn't work. It just makes our prison cell a little bit cozier, just adds a pillow to it, right? So that's a little bit about the subconscious. I want to talk a little bit just on one more point, and then I promise we'll get to it. But there's a way to start to speak the language of your psyche, or to understand what's really in your subconscious, so you're not just living blind to it, letting it control you. And obviously, inquiry is one of the
Canadian.
Oh no. Can you guys hear me? Okay. We lost Brandon. Um, I'll take over till he gets back because I want to jump in here. So something that he said about the spiritual experience of we come into this lifetime with some of these, what I like to call soul curriculum or soul lessons. There's something so profound to this, but most people will go to their graves missing the point. So let me explain. So you are conditioned and programmed when we're children, right? Our brains, maybe you've heard this, our brains are in a theta or delta brainwave state from 0 to 7. Has anyone heard that before? Okay. So when we're really little, like 0 to 1, 0 to 2, we're actually in a delta brainwave state. We're in like a deep sleep dream state as an infant. And then from 2 to 7, we're in the theta brainwave state. And that's also a hypnotic state where we're downloading reality. And why is that important? It's important because I have to download. I just came from the spirit realm, whatever you believe, as a formless being to earth as a human being, and there's language, there's social norms, there's customs, there's culture, there's so much information, and the best way to download it is to make sure that all information for the first 7 years of my life bypasses rational thought and goes straight into the deeper software, like Brandon was talking. That's the Windows 95 that's actually driving the show and actually programming the entire reality. But then here's the catch: whatever our subconscious mind was filled with becomes an attracting force within our psyche. And it literally creates and attracts and constructs reality around that programming. But it's all for our liberation, because it's through the suffering of living a life where we continue to recreate that conditioning, that programming, those invisible belief systems that are not in truth, not in love, not in God, but that we have committed to because we downloaded it as truth before we had critical thinking, before we had rational thought, before our conscious mind was really participating in what we choose to believe. That's where we end up attracting a reality that keeps us stuck, that keeps us deeply in suffering, and it's life revealing to us where we're not free. It's that relationship that you keep finding yourself in the same relationship pattern, or being the same way in relationship, or attracting a similar partner, or it's continuing to go into debt and financial ruin again and again. It's reality is being constructed by your subconscious mind. And if you can see that as your soul curriculum and not life trying to hurt you, not God abandoning you, not some problem you need to fix. If you can see that as your initiation and your opportunity to come in and liberate yourself from the prison that Brandon was talking about, that this is your divine appointment, your divine opportunity, and your soul curriculum assignment to be liberated through the confinement. And that is all it means to be human. Is we're here to be so confined in these human bodies, so confined in these vessels. We have this magnanimous spirit that is now so condensed into fingers, toes, limbs, a body, hair, and that is purposeful, to be so condensed, so confined, so contracted. And that's the same thing that's happening as we attract realities with all the suffering that is inherent in our subconscious programming and those false identities that we adopted so young. it's all to have this intense contraction on your system so that you find your path back to expansion, liberation, and you actually get to experience what it is to be God and human all at once. Okay, Brandon's back. Does that
I
make sense?
missed it, but I loved it.
Does that make sense? Does anyone have anything to say on that before we just charge ahead? Because I want to see if that really landed. I like the symbol. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Ashley. Thanks, guys. Um, okay, Brandon, how's your service? Are you doing good?
I have no service. My power's out, my Wi-Fi's out, everything is completely gone. Can you hear me at all?
Yeah, we can hear you. This is getting
Awesome.
exciting.
Yeah, this will be fun. Um, there's a lightning storm outside, so I guess it fried everything
Wow.
on my block.
Wow. That adds to the profundity, I think. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it'll be nice and intimate, me talking in the dark here. Yeah. So where do we leave off? Are we do we have a good understanding of the subconscious?
I just kind of expanded on how you said that it's all a soul curriculum, and we may have come in intentionally choosing to adopt certain programming, to choose a certain prison cell, to literally choose certain confinement so that we can experience that contraction as our path back into expansion, and to be both this limitless spirit being and human at the same time is like ultimate spiritual mastery that we're all walking towards. And it's not, life is not actually trying to imprison us when it reflects back to us the subconscious programming. It's actually trying to liberate us, because it is through our alchemizing of the initial conditioning that we are literally reunified with the source from which we came. And that's the whole, to me, that's the whole point. So it's not an accident that you have your money wounding, your romantic relationship wounding, the health issues that keep repeating, the issues with your parents, the issues with, whatever it is. I just don't see anything in this realm or any realm as an accident.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's beautiful. I was even thinking something along those lines today, after me and you had talked, Grace, and I told you a little bit of my backstory and some of the really intense, painful moments. And you were asking me about my purpose here, and I was saying that, well, my only purpose here is liberation. And so I asked for a big spiritual curriculum. And today I was kind of sitting with it and I was like, thank God my life has been difficult. Thank God things haven't worked out too. Because if they had, then be where I'm not whole, where I'm living in this field of separation. But because of the suffering, because of the symptoms, because of the perceived difficulties of life, it's been able to show me where I'm not free and what my path back home is. And so being able to turn into them and use them as my path to liberation is extremely freeing. And so even when things like this happen, it's not oh crap, my power went out. It's like, great. I get to see if there's any sort of meaning that I assign to the fact that everything crashed out, right, as we are having this wonderful event. And I get to use that to have more freedom too. Can I be totally, neutral and amused and not assign any meaning to it, right? And I like that we're kind of going on the spiritual note with this and the spiritual purpose of these subconscious patterns and where they're guiding us back to wholeness. One of the things that I notice in some spiritual circles that I think is worth talking about, and even just different schools of thought in general, is that sometimes people focus on wanting to think positively, towards wanting to tell themselves a better story, towards wanting to have some affirmation or a mantra. But that doesn't really work because if deep in your subconscious you believe something else to be true, you're actually just highlighting what you don't really believe is true. And then it kind of takes you into the opposite of it in your life. And so that's where we have to use some of the somatic work because the body doesn't lie. It's always going to be a reflection of your subconscious because that's where it comes from. The body is held within the mind. And I want to tell just a quick story on this. I had been doing spiritual work since I was 14 years old, pretty intensely since I was, 16, 17 years old. And I remember I was at work. I was working this really intense, high pressure sales job. And there was a lot of things within that job that reminded me of childhood dynamics. They constantly would have a scoreboard of who was doing the best, how much money everybody was making as a means for competition. And so it was constantly highlighting all these wounds within me until at one point I had sort of like a nervous breakdown and was just kind of in a lot of anger. And my boss, who was a pretty spiritual person, and we had had some really great talks, he's like, "Where's your spirituality now, Brandon?" And he was kind of poking fun at me. And what was happening is all that spirituality, it couldn't save me from the biological processes that were going on in my body that said, no, I need to defend myself. This isn't right. Defend your territory, or you'll never have any. You'll never have X, Y, and Z. And so that spirituality, that positive thinking, that better mindset, it couldn't save me from what was actually living in the subconscious. And in fact, it was making it a little bit harder for me to find what was really in there that was unresolved because I was constantly using my spiritual tools just to kind of go above it, to rise above it. But then when it really comes down to it, when your life's really on the line or it feels like that to your nervous system, you go back into the hardwired pattern or the soft wired patterns in there in your subconscious mind. And so biology, it can be a really revealing map as to what's really going on with you. And I'll give one more just quick example of this that I had with a friend. She was, let's just say, beta testing a relationship. And she was seeing if she wanted to date this guy, right? And she was saying, "Oh no, I'm not attached to it. I don't base any of my value off of whether this person wants me or not, this, that, the other." But then every time that he would come over to her house and then leave, she would get this really intense eczema and skin issue outbreak on her forehead and on her back. And what it was showing was that there was something called a separation conflict, which is a conflict of either not wanting touch that's there and wanting to separate from it or wanting touch to be there that you're not getting. And so she was wanting somebody to cuddle her on the backside and like kiss her forehead, essentially. And so every time she would have that relationship beta testing experience, the skin symptoms would show up every single time as soon as that person left. And so her body was revealing what was really true in her subconscious, in her psyche. And so then guiding her through some questions, through some inquiry, she's like, oh yeah, that is really in there. I do really want that. And that's where most people are. They're only aware of their conscious mind. And even if you point it out to them, they'll go, no. The ego has a bunch of different means of defending itself. And we won't get into all of those today, but there's rationalization, there's justification, there's all sorts of things. And that's what she was doing. She's like, no, that's not true until she took a greater look. So that's the beauty of also being in touch with your biology and how it works and how it's revealing your psyche. The other way that your subconscious is revealed is through your language. When I take on a new client, I have in a form that they fill out where I have them just tell me a few of their life stories, some repetitive themes that happen in their life. And through the language they use in telling me those stories, I can tell exactly what their subconscious programs are, what the prisons of their own mind are. It comes out in your language. That's what it consists of is these words, right? And so you can notice what those words are, or the language that's underneath a sensation, the language that's underneath an experience you're having, and that'll tell you where the constraint is, right? So if you have an opportunity to you that's coming to you, but you're afraid to take it, and you turn inward and you're like, ooh, my heart's racing, I feel this sensation. If I go a little bit deeper than the conscious mind, what am I believing to be true about this opportunity? Oh, I believe that it'll be too much for me, or I believe that I don't deserve it. You listen to that inner toddler, right? That voice that's in there, that kind of that deeper in emotion. It's like, oh, that's what it is. That's what it sounds like to me. And then you have something to work with. Now you get to investigate if it's really true, where it comes from, and through the light of awareness, through the light of inquiry, you get to dissolve that meaning, those words. And you got to go even a little bit deeper than that, because behind the words, behind the prison is an identity. It's the person who doesn't believe they're worth it, that identity. Identity, it feeds into thoughts, emotions, behaviors. Everything else is downhill from identity. And that's why a lot of modalities miss the mark. They might get some relief, they might release the pressure valve, and you might feel a little bit better, but it doesn't get it all the way at its core where you're a totally new person. And when you do identity level depth in your work, you get there. You got to dissolve that, and all the rest just naturally fades away. So that's what we'll be guiding you through tonight.
Can I add a few things?
Please.
Yeah, so something that I'd love to add, because I know a lot of you are probably aware of like nervous system regulation work. And I think that and also affirmations, which is less nervous system, more working with the conscious mind. And the reason that those things, even though I've experimented with everything similar to Brandon, I've been on quite the journey trying to learn everything. Um, Affirmations are not going to work because they're working with the conscious mind, which, as Brandon may have said earlier, really only dictates 5% of our habits, behaviors, and what we're doing day to day. Whereas the subconscious mind is really in control of 95% of your reactions, behaviors, and really it's the attractive force of your life and your reality. But the reason nervous system work, even though it's getting a little deeper than that conscious affirmational work, also doesn't necessarily heal at the root is because it's the subconscious mind that writes the programs. And then it's your autonomic nervous system that runs the programs. So if I'm just trying to regulate my nervous system and tap and do breath work, I mean, how many of you have like done breath work or meditation, felt so amazing, so healed in that moment, and then you're just like right back to autopilot, yeah, 5 minutes later, right? So it's because you're regulating something that's still you're regulating something that's still not in full truth. And if something my mentor always says is if we're suffering, we're not in the
We're
truth.
suffering, we're not in the truth.
Oh, that was weird. I just heard myself back.
Oh, that was weird.
Is my audio doing that to you guys? Like kind of reverberating?
Yeah, if anyone's on speakerphone, please mute yourself because otherwise it'll echo.
Okay, thank you so much, Brandon. So yeah, so we have to go to the subconscious mind, which as I said is writing the programs so that our nervous system doesn't have to run it, and then we don't have to soothe ourselves out of it all the time. Does that make sense? Is that landing? So the nervous system work is going to be secondary. That's like treating the branch, but we want to go to the root is why does it make sense for your mind to still run this program? There's some function, there's some utility. We have to see the innocence behind, we have to see the childlike innocence behind why that program is still dictating your reality, because to some part of you it still feels like the only way you can live. And so ISI is about showing you that there truly is a different way to live, and dissolving and bringing into coherence the conscious and subconscious minds. And I also wanted to add, I love Brandon's whole concept that like the subconscious programs, they're a prison, but I want you to realize that the prisons are not the problem, they're the path. They're the solution. They're your path home. The prison itself is not something to fight. The resistance is actually keeping you in it, keeping you stuck, and keeping you in those cycles of abuse you don't want to be in. The prison isn't the problem. It's your path back to God. It's your path back home. Did we lose Brandon again? Okay. Maybe he's just stepping away. So another thing I'd love to share is a lot of coaches believe, and a lot of nervous system practitioners believe that the body is the subconscious mind. Has anyone heard that one before? The body is the subconscious mind. The body is like a manifest a form of the subconscious mind. And so in German New Medicine, we know this. We know that it's your subconscious psyche that is initiating all biological programs, adaptations, and what we call disease. So if any of you are understand a little bit about German New Medicine, you know, or even if you just understand how much our emotions influence disease, like the body is not just reflecting the subconscious mind, but some practitioners even go so far as to say it is the subconscious mind. And so you'll know by the fruits of your life, your reactions, how triggered you get, you know, how how angry you get. You'll know by the symptoms your body has. Like the fruits of your life, of your body, will reveal what's going on in your subconscious mind, which is why understanding little bit about German new medicine can really lead us to where we need to go in the psyche to dissolve those identities. And it does really come down to this one question: what did you make it mean about you? Because unless your identity is linked to that experience, it's really pretty impossible to suffer. So for example, Brandon's client who is doing that beta testing relationship, and she wants to be touched on her back, forehead, whatever, it's asking her in that moment, well, that's what you really want. That's what you really desire. But when you don't get it, or you don't get it in the way you want, what are you making that mean about you, that you don't get to have that love, care, support, whatever that you want? And it's her attaching her worth, her identity, and something deeply intrinsic about herself to what's happening in her life that causes the suffering. And so when we're not in the truth, when we're not in truth, love, and God, we will suffer. And so integrated somatic inquiry is just here to reveal where we're suffering, and to take the path, using the prison as the path back home to the truth.
Awesome. I love it. That's great. Um, I do want to field questions, but I think it would be fair and fun for us to jump into some live inquiry first. That way we can have a nice experience. So if any of that brought up a question within you, maybe just jot it down, write it down on the side so you don't forget it, and we can speak to it afterwards. And then Grace, I'll let you do the first one because we'll see if my electricity ever comes back on, because that would be a little bit easier. But if
You're,
not,
you're
I'll
hanging
rock it
on
up
by
for
a
fun.
thread. Okay, let's pray for
Yeah.
Brandon. Um, Would anyone be brave enough to be camera on, audio on, taken through an experience, a breakthrough? That, and remember that you choosing to reveal yourself is serving the collective. It's actually a selfless act, and what's most personal is most universal. So when you're willing to share like this, you actually may heal somebody next to you in this Zoom room. Jenny, I see your fingers wagging. You want to go, Jenny?
No, not really, but yes.
Okay, the soul is speaking. She says yes. All right, talk to me.
I was resonating when you were talking about some like ongoing financial situations you keep getting yourself into, and also
Mhm.
I continue to run up against some like negative beliefs about my body, and it
Okay,
just feels like I keep getting somewhere, but then like that identity pulls me back almost.
okay, okay. Are you aware of this identity? When you say this identity, it seems like you've done some work around this.
Yes, and probably there's plenty more to explore.
Yes and no. Okay. All right, let's see. Jenny, where is there more energy, more charge, maybe more tension? Is it with the financial situation, or is it with the body?
Financial.
Financial. Okay. And I'm sure they're linked, but let's go where it's really alive, really charged up. So tell me what's going on. Tell me something about the financial situation that gives me some context.
It feels like no matter how much I receive, it's not enough. And I have, gotten myself into a position where there's like debt, and that feels very shameful, and it feels like, yeah, like I've done something wrong, or no
Hmm.
matter how much I try, I won't be able to get out of that.
Okay. Okay. So the money is reflecting back to you this pattern of I've done something wrong and I won't be able to rectify it. So money is just an avenue to show you this pattern. Does that feel true?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Brandon's saying, anyone else resonate with that? It's never enough, getting ourselves into debt. Absolutely. Okay. Jenny, why don't you close your eyes for a second? Take a few deep breaths. And I want you to bring this a little bit more into your body. I want you to say this out loud. No matter how much I receive, it's never enough.
No matter how much I receive, it's never enough.
And I can't get out of this pattern.
And I can't get out of this pattern.
And where do you feel that in your body when you speak it?
Mainly in my chest. It
Your
feels like a tightness.
A tightness, like something sitting on your chest.
Like something squeezing.
Something squeezing. Okay, place your hands there and go into that sensation. Make that sensation louder. Do you feel safe to feel this right now, Jenny?
Yeah.
Okay. Let yourself feel this tightness, this squeezing in your chest. Take a deep breath. Exhale through the mouth. I want you to let the sensation take us to a memory, to a scene where this felt really alive. It really could be any scene. The first place that this sensation wants to take you, if the sensation wanted to take you on a journey, where is it going?
Mm.
Where have you felt this before?
I'm having trouble finding it.
That's okay. Just acknowledge that. There's some resistance. There's some protector parts that don't necessarily want to get under the hood of the car, and that's okay. Just take deep breaths and stay with your chest, stay with your heart. When you said to me, no matter how much I receive, it's just never enough. Where has that felt most true in your life?
Other people's validation.
Okay, let's be specific. Take me to a moment. Take me to where this is true. Where is the evidence that you're needing their validation to be enough, but it's never enough?
No matter how smart somebody tells me I am, I don't feel like I am.
Okay. So some part of you is waiting to be told that you're smart. Okay. Okay. And when you don't get that validation, then what's true about you?
That I don't know enough, or I'm a failure.
I'm a failure. I'm stupid, maybe.
Yeah.
Which one resonates? I'm a failure.
Failure.
I'm a failure. Okay, where's the evidence that you're a failure? Because the ego runs on evidence. Take me to where that's true for you, and just keep your eyes closed and let yourself surrender to this. Your psyche knows what to do.
In my business,
Okay.
not making the money that I want to, not having the clients that I want to.
Okay.
Feels like I'm failing.
What's your business?
I'm a breathwork facilitator and a naturopathic doctor. So I work with a lot of women in doing this kind of work, which feels ironic.
Perfect. Remember, the prison's the path home.
Yeah.
You're right on time. You're in the right spot. I'm sensing that there's something deeper than your business, though, hun, where you felt like I'm a failure and it crushed you. It's okay if nothing comes, but I'm just inquiring if there's anything deeper to this story, this ancient story, I'm a failure.
Maybe around my body, like accepting, loving her.
Perfect. Yeah, I actually wanted you to go to the body. Not me wanting anything, right? I don't have any interest, but I was sensing that that's actually where there's more charge. But I think your protector part came in and said,
Yeah.
let's work on the business in front of this group of strangers because that might be better.
Yeah, yeah. But I know
Okay.
they're related. They always are.
Okay. So the body. Okay. Where are you feeling this failure with your body? Where is this true that something about your body makes you a failure? Feel that.
Feels like a lump in my throat.
Feel that. Don't charge past it. Breathe with it, be with it. There's a lot of pain here.
Yeah.
We're all holding you. There's no rush.
Yeah, there's just ever since I was a little girl, like a lot of pain around like the way my body looks, not being thin enough,
Yeah,
being criticized.
yeah. Okay, take me to the criticism. Where'd you get this idea that your body's not good enough?
My grandma,
Okay.
my mom, my aunts,
Yeah.
boys at school.
Okay. Who's the loudest voice in your head?
Mm, Probably my mom.
Okay. And how's your relationship with your mom?
Okay.
It's
Could be
okay.
better.
Could be better. There's a lot of pain there.
Yeah.
Okay. Take me to a moment with your mom. Something that you still hold resentment towards, something that you can't let go of, something that has led to this deep not enoughness in your body, this failure.
I watched her hate her own body for so long,
Hmm.
and it made me feel like I needed to do that too. And the only time I would ever get a lot of praise from her was when I lost like a bunch of weight in a
Mm,
really unhealthy way, like starving myself.
okay.
But she didn't know that obviously. And she just, would be like, "Oh my God, you look so good. You look so beautiful." And that was obviously just hard to hear.
What did you make that mean? You're only beautiful when you starve yourself to your mom.
Yeah, like if I gained any weight back, I wouldn't be beautiful to her. I wouldn't get her love or praise, that I was doing it wrong, or that I couldn't like maintain that. I couldn't be enough.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna get a little granular. I want you to take me to a scene where your mom is talking to you and she says something that's deeply painful to you. Can you take me to a scene, a memory? A shocking moment. Maybe you were really caught off guard by what she said, but it left a scar. Take me there.
Mm. I feel like I'm having a hard time grabbing one.
That's okay. You don't need to grab anything. Okay.
Yeah, I just remember being a teenager
Mm-hmm.
and my sister grabbed my wrist and said something like, "Oh, you've lost a bunch of weight." And my mom said something like, "Oh, but doesn't she look so good?"
Okay, stay right there. Feel that. How old are you?
Like 15.
She needs you right now. Okay, be there. Can you really feel her right now? Okay, so your mom said, doesn't she look great? But what did you hear? Because you didn't hear that. What did you hear?
You didn't look good before. You were ugly before.
You've been ugly to me until now. And the reason you're not ugly now is because you're starving yourself. You're only beautiful, you're only lovable when you're deprived. You know, money's a form of nourishment too.
Hmm.
Okay. Do you see how it's difficult to hold that nourishment?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel safe for you to be nourished. Does that feel true?
Yeah. Doesn't feel safe for me to have more
To have
than
more,
enough.
to be resourced, to be full. It doesn't feel safe to feel full.
Yeah.
Do you get anxious when a lot of money comes in?
Yes.
Okay.
I just got married this past weekend and received a lot of money from my parents, and it's already feeling like, yeah, just a lot.
You know why?
Because it doesn't feel safe to feel nourished.
Sure. Because when your mom gives you a compliment, what do you hear? You hear I'm ugly. You hear I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
You know? What she said was, don't you look great? You know, I want you to imagine that that's like a fat check. It's like it's what you've been holding out to hear for so long. It's what you're holding out to receive. And then it comes and all you actually hear is you were worthless every other moment. You were ugly every other moment. And only now that you're so deprived and only now that you're starving do I love you. Is that what you heard?
Yeah.
And what does that say about you?
That I'll never be enough because I won't be able to maintain that or hold that.
Yeah. I'll never be enough. How long has that story been running?
A long fucking time.
A long fucking time. I'll never be enough. Is it true that you'll never be enough? And it's okay. Don't try to give me some forced answer.
I mean, I want to say no, but
What do you feel though?
maybe.
Hmm. Tell me about the yes. It's true that I'll never be enough. Tell me about her.
Yeah, there's part of me that still believes that
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
won't be enough. No matter how much I change my body, no matter how much I make, no matter how successful I am, it won't be enough.
Yeah. And what determines whether you're enough?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Sounds like a self-fulfilling prophecy though. If I'll never be enough, and that's really true, but maybe money could temporarily change that, or maybe validation from others, or maybe losing a bunch of weight could change that. What I'm really doing is I am absolutely cementing into reality that all those things will evade me because they're false idols, and that's how this works. All you can really experience is that identity. I'll never be enough as long as some part of you believes it's true. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Everything material, this kind of comes to a spiritual end, but everything in this material world that we cling our identity to, we cling our worthiness to, we cling our enoughness to, will fall through our hands, and that's part of the lesson. It's God's not going to let you believe that it's just some amount of money. That's not going to last, right? And guess what? The version of you that wanted to hear that you look great, when your mom said it, did that take the enoughness away or did that make it 10 times worse?
It made it worse.
Yeah, and look at all this money you just got in your wedding, and it's causing you more anxiety than before your wedding.
Mm,
Can another person take away your enoughness?
no,
Can they give it to you?
no,
Do numbers in a bank account make us enough, or is it some part of our psyche going, oh, okay, maybe I'm getting close to it now that I have more money, and maybe I'll be enough with more money? Is it actually the money that can do anything to you?
no,
No. So go back to being a teenager with your mom, and she says, don't you look great? And you hear, I'll never be enough, I'm not enough. Is that true?
no.
No. And reality without a story is actually incredibly loving, very neutral. I want you to see yourself standing there as just a really adorable teenager, and your mom's looking at you, and your mom just makes some mouth noises, and then, and then you make some mouth noises, and then maybe you slump your shoulders and turn around and walk away, but that's literally all that happened without a story, without your perceptual field applied.
Mm,
Does that make sense? So is
yeah,
it true that the events that happened and the sounds that came from your mother made you not enough or confirmed it at all?
no.
But who do you become when it is true? What does life look like for Jenny? Like what is this whole reality become when it's true that you'll never be enough?
Just keep chasing things like money, trying to always change my body to feel better. And it
Yeah.
just doesn't.
Yeah. And how did you react to your mom when she said that all those years ago? Who did you become towards your mother when you believed that she just laid down the law and confirmed for you that you're never enough?
Angry, frustrated,
Angry,
sad.
frustrated, sad. How did you react in that moment?
I smiled and said, thank you.
Yeah, but you really, you know, you probably wanted to say fuck you, right?
Yeah, I didn't swear back then, but I should have.
But what if you couldn't believe that? What if you couldn't believe that anything your mother could say today or as a teenager could make you enough? You just told me that another human can't do that. I mean, that's way too much power. No human has that over you. You know, your psyche has all the power. So what if you couldn't make that mean you're never enough, you're not enough? In that moment, just be right there, be the teenager in that scene and see what changes, see what opens up, see how maybe you respond differently if I could pull this belief out of your psyche and you can't make her words mean that.
I think I would tell her how much pain I was feeling and how I wasn't being nourished. I wasn't taking care of myself.
Yeah. Tell her
That
right now. Tell her.
I'm not loving myself.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm chasing something and I'm never gonna feel like I catch it, never gonna feel like enough. But I don't want to do that.
Yeah. How might you feel towards your mom if she couldn't make you not enough? There's nothing she could say or do, and she never made you not enough. What might be different with her even now?
I wouldn't resent her.
Okay.
I could just accept her the
You
way
just
she is.
How likely is it that she carries the same story?
Very likely.
How likely is it that there's a 15-year-old in your mom who never
Mm,
felt enough, who undernourished?
yeah, 100%.
And what do you both need? Both of you teenagers who don't not feeling enough.
Love.
Love. Do you think you could give that to your mom now?
Yeah.
You think you could give that to your teenage self?
Yeah.
What about letting yourself actually receive love in the form of compliments, money, your husband, your partner?
Yeah, that feels like it's been hard.
And how does this show up with your partner, dear? This not enoughness.
He just wants to love me so much, and I just push it away.
Yeah. Yeah. Why does it make sense for you to confirm this story? I'll never be enough. I'll never be enough to just be loved, and I'll never be just lovable and enough. Like what's the innocence here? Why does it make sense to push your husband away, to push the money away? Because it makes sense to some part of you and it's okay.
I just have more practice with it,
Yeah, sure.
I guess.
Yeah. Is that all?
It means that I was right, or it's like that self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, you're right to be resentful to your mom. That kind of feels good to some young part of rebellious part of it, doesn't it? It's like I still want to be like, fuck you, and I'm right, and you did this to me,
Mm,
but when we complete with our parents, like fully complete these relationship wounds with our parents, we literally cannot perpetuate them in our marriages. Because everything incomplete with mom and dad is what our romantic partnerships rest upon.
mhm.
Can you see how you forgiving your mom and loving her and realizing she never had this power over you to take or give enoughness might be linked to your husband?
Yeah.
And what might be different with your new husband? Congratulations, by the way. What might be different when you can't believe that you'll never be enough? Like you're just dropping that. There's no evidence for that. That's just a story in your mind.
I would see myself the way he sees me, and I would just let him smother me with love like he wants to, and I accept his compliments more than I do.
I'm gonna I'm gonna take this to the next step because I think you can handle it, okay?
Mhm.
And this is for everyone. I don't think that we need to make ourselves enough, and I don't think we need to learn how to love ourselves perfectly. I think our only job is to live in the absence of the lie that we were never not enough, that we ever fell from grace, fell from God, fell from our perfection. Because I want you to imagine those most perfect moments with your husband that you've ever had, where you've been in complete bliss, complete joy, complete oneness, did you have to stop and say, what's his name?
Rob.
Did you have to say, hey, Rob, my mind is being blown right now because I feel like I'm enough right now. I think we should like pause and just acknowledge that like we're enough. Isn't this great? This is what we've been looking for.
No.
No, because that's actually the baseline that we're living in. That's the basement floor of this reality. That's the foundation that we're literally perfect, you know, spirit beings that with nothing we need to, there's nothing about our spirit we need to really improve upon here. It's all about getting out of the prisons that we find ourselves in and just going back home again and again and again and again and again. But we don't have to create home. We don't have to like have a certain amount of money in the bank and say, okay, well, now I can go home to God because look, I have $1 million, right? We don't have to create the enoughness whatsoever. We just have to really practice living in the absence of I'm never enough. And we start in relationship because all our trauma happens in relationship, like you just told me your teenage self, and all our healing happens in relationship. It's asking yourself, who are you going to be to your mom when you can't believe she ever made you not enough? Who are you going to be to Rob when you can't believe that he could take away your lovability or enoughness either? Because maybe some part of you wonders, and so is self-sabotaging because you're like, well, one day when he doesn't smother me with this love, that'll be the evidence. That'll be the day that I'm not enough. And I'm just like waiting for the shoe to drop. How does that resonate?
I feel it more with my relationship to my mom, but
Yeah,
I can
for sure.
see that.
That's the work. So I'm just going to tell you, I'm just going to wrap this up by telling you what you might be able to say to your mom. And you don't have to do this. You don't have to take this, like memorize these words or anything. But I just want you to feel this. I want you to feel what happens to your chest when I say this to you, okay? So I'm going to be you, and I'm going to imagine I'm talking to your mom, okay?
Mhm.
I'm going to say, hey, Mom, I want to talk to you about something. Many years ago when I was a teenager, 15, 16, I remember my sister grabbing my wrist and saying that I was skinny and you turning around. And I'll never forget this moment, but you said, wow, doesn't she look great? And in that moment, I heard I was ugly before. I've been ugly to my mom all along. I've never been enough to my mom. And I didn't receive your compliment in that moment. I actually felt so angry at you, so frustrated because I made it believe that I'll never be enough because what I was doing to myself to look like that was killing me, was punishing me, was starving me. It was full of pain. And so I realized if I'm only worthy when I'm doing this horrible, neglecting myself, malnourishing myself, then I'll just never be enough if that's the case. And I made you responsible in that moment for my enoughness. I made it mean that you made me not enough with how you looked at me my whole life. And when I believed that you made me not enough with what you said and how you acted to me, and even how you acted toward yourself, I made that mean I'm never enough. I resented you. I wanted to curse at you. Sometimes I hated you. I've been angry at you. And I know our relationship hasn't been amazing in part because of this resentment. But I know now that it was never true. It was never true that I was never enough or I'm never enough. It was never true that you made it so or that you even created evidence for it. You were doing the best you could, and maybe you felt the similar pain that I have felt. And I'm so sorry for all this anger, judgment, and resentment I've projected onto you when I believed that you held this key to my enoughness that I was never good enough to get. Because I know that I'm already perfect in God, and no human, not even my mother, can take that from me. I no longer believe this lie. And I no longer want to project this hatred onto you, this resentment. I just want to love you because I know that's what you need. It's also what I need. How can I be a better daughter now? I love you. How does that feel in your body, Jenny?
Like a relief,
How's your chest feel?
lighter, like open.
How does it feel to have this amazing money in your bank now?
Exciting, not scary.
Wow. Congratulations, hun, on your wedding, on your marriage.
Thank you.
Let yourself receive it and be nourished by it, all of it. And give that overflow to your mom as soon as you can.
Yeah, she needs it.
Yeah. Okay. Couple deep breaths, and then you can slowly come out when you're ready.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Everyone give her some love. That was so brave, like so vulnerable, so brave. Virtual hugs and tears. Yeah. Who resonated with her story? Anyone about to go apologize to your own mom because of that? Me too. Brandon, I'll hand this over to you now for any reflections or where you want to take it. Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah, that was amazing. Great job, Jenny. Great job, Grace. I see that pattern of, okay, I was loved for being malnourished, and so I'll continue to be malnourished financially to seek that love. But what we ultimately really want is to be loved for who we are. And so if we think that having something, doing something in order to be loved isn't authentic, it's not us really getting it, but that identity of the one who's starving ourselves from a resource to be enough, right, deserving of it, it'll never be fulfilling. It'll just hurt. It'll be like, no, this isn't what I really want. It could actually even work the other way around. If somebody only feels like they're loved for what they have, and so they're stacking a bunch of money and trying to be enough, it'll never actually work. And I know that from personal experience. I believed that if I had enough what they call territory, like if I had a house, if I had money, if I had all these things, then I would finally be good enough and lovable. And by and large, I think that came from my dad and him having been through a divorce and like, oh, well, maybe if I have all these things, then somebody wouldn't leave, whatever. But when I was at my peak of income and success, I was totally miserable. I lived with that inner context of I'm not enough, and the artificial means of getting enough didn't work. So it was really painful until it had to collapse on itself. And then once you're living from a place of I'm inherently enough, with or without all of this, you can create it just as a natural extension of your being and not as something that you're doing to replace truth. Whenever you're using an artificial means in order to get something that's inherently already true, it will eventually collapse on itself. It will eventually fail you. And so that's why we do this work. That's why we dissolve these subconscious programs. That way, your life can be an extension of who you truly are instead of it being an extension of what you're believing to be true about yourself that really isn't. Yeah. Because whenever you're suffering, you're being someone other than who you really are, right? Which was beautifully examined and found through that inquiry. So amazing stuff. I want to do one more quick round. I'll maybe try to do it in like 20 minutes. That we have time for Q&A. Um, if somebody wants to raise their hand and volunteer, if you commented or shared our post on this, you get first dibs. I don't know who that is because my power's out, so I can't check. But feel free to out yourself if that was you and you want to do the second round. Or if you're not here and somebody else wants it, just go ahead and raise your hand. Come on camera, come on mic so I can see you because I'm on my phone, so I won't know otherwise. Someone wants to do some inquiry.
I can go if no one else wants to. I mean, I'm
Going
already
once.
working with Brandon, so if someone else wants to, they can, but I always love doing this stuff.
That's how you know it's good, when the person already getting it wants more. Going once, going twice. Any other takers? Okay. Sounds like it's all you then.
All right.
Um, I'll do my best with this being in the dark. I turned on my computer light and I have a nice little candle here, which I kind of like. You know, maybe we should all do this via candlelight next time. There's something kind of nice about it. Please let me know if you stop being able to hear me, if my earbuds die. Uh,
Okay.
all right, awesome. So what's going on with you? What's up in your world? What's kind of a sticking point?
Yeah, I mean, we're already working on the knees together, so I feel called to go maybe a little bit different of a direction.
Yeah.
I think around like receiving the money, kind of what Jenny alluded to, because I'm not sure that I have full clarity on like where that comes from. I mean, I can blame my parents, but I'm sure there's something deeper.
Yeah, awesome. And tell me what the story currently is around money. What's your chief complaint around it? What's going on with it?
Yeah, I currently feel like it's always been hard to make money in the career field that I'm currently in, which is similar to Jenny. We went to naturopathic medical school together, and we work with a lot of women in a different way, but similarly. And so I feel like it's like hard to, I guess, sell myself, sell the experience, whereas I've worked, other jobs before my like professional career as a healer, and it felt a lot more easeful to have money flow in. Like I was a server, so I could make $500 a night, and that felt really lovely. And now it feels like just a struggle to make larger amounts of money.
Hmm. Yeah, got it. So money can only be made through effort, through self-sacrifice, through inauthenticity. My authentic self and the work that I feel called to do isn't worth money. It's not easy to make money being me. Is that kind of what it sounds like?
Yeah, what I've also realized too, Jenny and I are actually hosting a women's retreat together, and I have kind of busted my ass the past like 3 days and have got 10 women to like commit. And I've noticed it's way easier for me to sell an experience than it is for me to like sell myself as like a healer.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so feel into that. I can't sell myself. I can't sell myself as a healer. And just see where that shows up within you as you make that statement. I can sell an experience, I can sell a service, but I can't sell me, who I
Yeah.
am, my natural gift. No way.
My throat.
Mhm. Yeah, tell me more. What's it feel like in the throat?
It's like this going inward sensation, like it's not a squeeze from all directions. It's like a left and right, like squeezing in,
Mm,
like a compression, I guess, almost.
yeah. How does the rest of your body feel when that's compressing? How does your head feel?
Everything else feels okay. It's literally like this part that goes below the chin and like ends at the clavicle, like literally right here. Well, I know you
Yeah.
probably can't see, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just be with that. Let it do whatever it needs to do. If it needs to grow in its intensity, if it needs any sort of movement. Just really, we want to start with immediacy. We want to start with being with it. And see if and try not to be smart or poetic. You know, it's easy to think it's the throat. Maybe it has to do with speech or this or that, but try not to even assume anything, you know. Just really see if you can receive and see what that sensation in your throat is saying to you. what its message is.
Well, what I feel like I want to do right now is just scream, like at the top of my lungs, like the scream where it like hurts. I don't know if anyone can resonate with that, but like screaming that loud, that's what is just coming through. Like I need to do that.
Yeah. And what does that satisfy for it? If it just gets to scream, gets to express, what is it releasing out of there?
It's allowing me to be loud and be heard. Because it doesn't
Yeah.
feel
And what,
safe to do that.
hmm yeah. So it gives you a sense of safety in your expression.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so that would imply that in general in life, there's a lack of safety in your self-expression when it comes to promoting yourself as the healer, yourself as the product. And so I want you to just find your most recent memory of where that felt really true. You're selling out this retreat, it's going well because that's an experience. But where's just a recent moment where you feel that constriction? It's not safe to express myself.
Usually when I'm in calls with private clients and like wanting to tell them like what they need to do, right? To like consider shifting things in their lives or seeing things from a different perspective and a different lens and feeling like I can't do that. Like it's not allowed
Mhm.
because it's not going to be perceived well.
Yeah, because you're going to be attacked or they're going to use it against you. They're going to run away. What's the sort of worst case scenario fear that sits in that tension?
An emotional outburst that reminds me of my mother that I just cannot handle and don't want to handle anymore.
Bingo. And so, good job. You're doing great. You're natural. Let that sensation and that overall sort of meaning, message, everything that you've tapped into so far, let it guide you to your most relevant past memory. Could be your first time you ever felt this way or just the most significant time. You already said with your mom, so just see. Don't assume, but just see where it guides you to. And then tell us about it as you tap into it.
I don't know that it's one experience, but it's just anytime I would try to give my perspective to like help her not be miserable, help her lose weight, like help her heal her son that's on the spectrum. Like anytime my perspective was asked and I would give it, it's not what she wanted to hear. So I got ignored or was like an emotional outburst or she would change the subject. And then for me, I interpreted that as like, okay, well, you clearly like don't value what I have to say.
Hmm hmm Yeah, I hear the pain in that, and that's been a reoccurring experience that's happened for a long time. What we want to do is take it out of generalization of many experiences because that allows your interpretation to justify itself without true investigation. And so we want to bring it into your most potent example of where you
Mm.
feel really justified in that experience, where it feels maybe the most intense, the first one, or just pick your favorite.
Yeah, what comes through where it's like what I'm saying isn't heard or isn't received is I had asked my mom to attend my white coat ceremony, which is like a big deal in the naturopathic like medical world. You were like recognized, right, as a doctor entering this program, and we were not talking at that time. I'm sure I did something that pissed her off and she cut off contact with me. And I reached out and I said, I understand we're not talking. It would really mean a lot to me if you could like attend this. She didn't. And now currently, like, we're working on our relationship, and I had brought that up. And it's just like she still gives her reason why. She can't even begin to understand why, like, I needed my mom there. She did apologize, but I guess it wasn't the way I was expecting an apology. So that's the memory that I immediately go back to. When I felt that what I have to say isn't
Great.
heard,
That's
it's not
perfect. Thanks for
respected.
letting-
Yeah.
Yeah. And what does it mean about you if what you have to say isn't heard, isn't respected, staying in that moment? What does that say about you if she doesn't care about what you're saying? Your step forward is that healing.
She cares about herself more than she cares about her daughter. She doesn't love me. She doesn't love me in the way that, like, I need to be loved. And for me, that's being, like, chosen and being heard.
Yeah. So I won't be loved if I express my authentic self,
100%.
is the belief that's in that. And your condition with that is that you need to be met and heard, responded to in the way that you perceive is showing you that you're loved in your authentic expression. And so staying in that memory without going to a past or future, is it absolutely true that your mom not responding the way you wanted her to means that you're not loved because you're expressing your authentic self?
In that moment, yeah, that was very true for me in that moment.
And so what evidence, what proof do you have that she's saying, hey, Ashley, you're showing me your authentic self and I don't love it. I don't love that authentic self.
Yeah, because she can't, like, put aside her own bullshit, for lack of a better term. Like, she can't put aside her own reasons as to why she couldn't show up and, like, still choose me. I think it's more because she, growing up, preached that, like, my kids are everything. I do everything for my kids. So it's like what she says doesn't line up with her actions. For me, at least.
Yeah, so if a person isn't able to show up for you in the way that you expect, in the way that maybe they've implied that they're going to, does that mean that there's anything wrong with you authentically showing up?
No.
Yeah. You could have said, let's go to McDonald's, or something, and she still might not have met you. She still might have said no. Her stuff might have still been in the way. So was the problem really that you were being in your authentic self, or is the problem just a lack of capacity, consciousness, maturity from your mom?
I feel like both are, like, somewhat true.
Okay. That's honest. That's honest.
Yeah.
If she's not your mom, let's just say it's a different person, and you're showing up in a way that feels authentic to you, and they don't have the capacity, the desire, the consciousness, whatever it is, to respond to you and show up for you in the way that you deem correct, does that mean that you being your authentic self isn't lovable? That they don't want the authentic you, and that's why they're not able to show up and meet you?
No, yeah, it doesn't mean that. I hold my mom to a very high expectation.
Yeah. And what is the hope that you'll gain by keeping that expectation of you wanting to not wanting to consciously, but you unconsciously wanting to hold on to that belief that unless she shows up and responds to what I consider my authentic self in a certain way, that means that it's not lovable, it's not accepted. What are you hoping to gain by having that condition, that
Yeah, the
belief?
validation that like I'm enough for her.
Yeah, and you want her to validate that in the way that
Yeah,
suits you, right? The
100%.
the
Yeah.
the hope and get holding on to it is that she'll change, that she'll show up and give you a
Correct.
different. Yeah, so here's
Yeah.
the fun part. You've been trying that one on since you were, however many years old, probably not a lot of years old. And how well has it worked in getting her to change and
Oh, it is
meet you the
not.
way
She is in her ways. There is very clear she's not changing.
you are? And so, who do you become when you believe that her not changing, her inability to put her shit aside to show up for you in the way you want, means that there's something that's unlovable about your authentic self? Who do you become? How do you show up to the world?
When I believe that, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. You could even just stay in that moment. How did you react to her when you were believing that?
I mean, I get upset. Like I can't wrap my mind around how a mother like wouldn't want to put aside her own shit to like meet their daughter where they're asking to be met.
Hmm.
So I show up with anger and resent.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. You're probably not responding to her in the way she wants you to respond to her either in that moment. Huh?
correct. Yeah.
The thing that you want, feeling loved for your authentic self, you're probably not really loving her authentic self because it's not good enough for you.
Yeah, I realized that a few days ago. Yeah.
Oh. And you might even start to show up in a way that's less confident in your authentic self, less satisfied with it. I don't know how it felt to show up and receive the white coat ceremony
Mm,
while living in that world, but I imagine it didn't feel quite as good.
no, no, it didn't. Because I mean, a part of the reason I chose that profession is to be accepted and loved by my mom.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we can see that when you hold that belief, and it's innocent that you would have it because you're mistakenly believing that your mom's lack of capacity, maturity, awareness in the relationship is actually her not loving you. When we
Yeah.
can't absolutely know that that's true,
Yeah.
we can't control how somebody else shows love or what capacity they have to hold it because a person's capacity to show love for somebody else is only as deep as their capacity to love themselves as they are. They can't give you something they can't give themselves.
Yeah.
She's maybe still trying to get her needs met from her mom or from you, flip-flopping
Mm-hmm.
it, which doesn't feel fair because you're supposed to be the child, not the mother.
Yeah.
But we can see that when you believe that, paradoxically, you start to get more of what you don't want, which is a sense of inauthenticity, having to push away, feeling less lovable,
Yeah. Mm.
not being able to love her in her authentic expression because it's messy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so step into, see what it feels like as a sensation, and then let that sensation give rise to an image. But who would you be without that belief?
I think I would be unstoppable in my business.
Yeah.
I'd be like fully in my power. I wouldn't be afraid to like say what I feel like needs to be said.
Yeah, absolutely. When you stop looking for your lovability through reinforcement externally from your mom, from your clients, from whoever, and you know that your lovability and your authenticity is inherent, you already have it. You only ever believed that you lost it unless someone gave you a certain level of validation. Now that that's gone, you see that's not what determines that. If somebody who's really hurting, a client who's really afraid to face their truth, you give them a dose of truth and they reject you for it, is that because your authentic expression was bad, wasn't lovable, wasn't the right thing? Or just because that person isn't there yet? They're not ready for
Yeah.
it, right? You see the difference instead of any of those rejections, whether it's your mom, your client, your bank account, you align yourself with somebody who can have you.
Yeah.
And maybe even more importantly, you can have them where they're at. Maybe that client can only receive a little portion of what you have to give, and that's okay. They can be stuck. They can be in their suffering. And you can have a choice as to whether or not you want to give them what they can have, or whether you want to shift and align with somebody who can have what you want to give. But you no longer have to express and give all of the healer that you are and have someone validate and congratulate you for it because you already know it's lovable, perfect, and amazing. So now you're free to make money from anyone at all different walks of life, with or without
Mm.
that
Mm.
validation. Opens you up
Mm.
to a much broader range of where that can come from.
Yeah.
You just got to own it. And see if there's a statement that arises in the absence of that old lie, anything that pairs up with that sensation.
Like an I am statement about what, or can you give me more clarity?
Yeah, just anything that comes up instead of, um, how did you phrase it? Uh, my authentic self isn't worth money, which then turned
Mm.
into my authentic self isn't lovable. What do you now? What truth naturally arises in the absence of that
Mm.
context?
These are always hard for me.
I'll give you an example. Instead of my authentic self isn't safe to express, you can now see that it is safe to express because the belief that it wasn't safe to express was based on you not getting the feedback you wanted. But when the feedback doesn't determine your safety or lovability, now you're safe to express yourself all day long. And
Mm.
if people don't like that, that's just validation that you're at a higher level than what they
Mm.
can access. You don't
Mm.
want to appeal to everybody. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it.
Whatever's true to you. Don't take my words.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. I just feel like the resistance in my body around that. But yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, that makes sense.
We'll give you a little more time in the hot seat. What's that resistance about?
Uh, it's almost like I do want like the validation from everyone. Like I want to be liked, but I understand my authentic self is very unlikable to some people. A lot of people actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think letting go of that, I need to be perceived well by everyone, obviously,
Yeah.
because it's not
And you just have
realistic.
to investigate it.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you believe that you need to be received well by everyone, to be liked by everyone? What would have to be true about you for you to need that from everyone? That's a big condition, right? Because
Yeah.
if you're doing things right, if you're speaking truth, it's going to be uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And other people's response to you isn't a metric for your lovability, your worth, who you are. It's a display of where they're at.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm seeing how I like make it all on me instead of like, that's just where the person's at.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe I hold myself to expectations that are not realistic.
Yeah, try this on. What if a client comes to you in victimhood and they want you to just validate their pain and tell them why their mom's a bitch and the cause of all their problems, all their suffering is valid and they should continue on as they are? What are you gonna say to them? Are you gonna
That's
say, yeah, you're right. I want to be really likable by you. Your mom's a total biatch. Is that your
yeah,
authentic
no.
stuff?
No, I don't even tolerate that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, because I have a few clients like that, and it's like it's not gonna work.
Would you rather be liked or would you rather be real, be effective?
Yeah, I'd rather be real. That's changed like the past few months for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And if that client says, well, screw you, Ashley, you're terrible at what you do because you're not playing into my victimhood, does that mean your authentic voice isn't safe and that you're not lovable and you should probably just quit and throw in the towel and go back to serving?
No, it does not mean that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And so again, step into who you are without that so your body can really feel it. You can create an anchor
Mm.
instead of I need to be liked, well received by everyone. What else could be equally true or more true? Could even be 180 to that. Instead of everyone else needing to approve of you,
Yeah, like I approve of myself. Like I'm enough as I am. I receive myself, and that's all that really matters. Like I'm at peace with who I am authentically.
yeah. And with a little bit of practicing this in the world, shining your light of awareness on that pattern.
Mm.
The next time you say it, you might believe it a little more
Mm.
fully. You might be able to hold that in the body a little bit more.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't always feel like an immediate jump into the new identity. Sometimes it's a gradual release of the old,
Mm-hmm.
and the new one slowly starts to settle in. You know, you said it and it sounded believable in your body more than before, right? And so continue to see in your lifetime where you show up believing that it's not safe to be your authentic self or that other people's response validation determines your lovability or worth. Just
Mm.
notice that there might be a
Mm.
similar sensation and then question it in the moment. Is it really true? You can even go into where that belief comes from. You'll notice that it's not true. You'll notice who you become when you believe it's true. It actually makes you more of a target when you're in a world where you have to be likable for your
Mm.
worth. Gives people an in to poke at that, right?
Mm.
And then step into who you are without it. And as you try that on, you show your psyche not once, not twice, but continuously that it's safe to live in a world where instead of it being important for everyone else to like you, which will never happen, there's nobody that's liked by everyone, right?
Mm.
You can live in a world where you like you
Mm.
give your authentic self safety because
Yeah.
it was never not there.
Mm.
You just didn't get the response you wanted.
Yeah.
Good. So you can come on out of inquiry. We'll stop there so we have some time for some Q&A. Amazing job. You know, those childhood wounds, those ones that are deeply ingrained that we've lived in for so long, they can be the hardest to step out of because we've been loyal to it. You know, we've been unconsciously serving it for so long. It's like, whoa, can I really reinterpret this? Can I really see a potential for a different meaning?
Yeah.
And, you know, there is an opportunity for what we call reporting, where you could have a conversation with your mom, but the conversation is not on the basis that she's going to give you the response you want, right? It's actually a demonstration that you're lovable and your authentic self is accepted and worthy regardless of her response. And so it might actually look something along the lines of, hey, mom, when you didn't, you could use maybe a different one if you've already talked to her about that. But as an example, it'd be like, hey, mom, when you didn't chose to come to my white coat ceremony and all of this, I made it mean that my authentic self wasn't lovable. I now see that that's not absolutely true. And I apologize for pulling away, not loving you and your authentic self, even if it's not what I had hoped for, even if it feels a little bit unloving and caring, whatever. I see that that's not necessarily true. And so I'm sorry, I'm going to choose to love you and show up for you in the way that I was seeking. And that might just shift it within you to where your throat gets to resolve. You get to release that. You know, the throat, depending on the sensation, what's there, but sometimes it's a self-devaluation conflict. You're devaluing yourself, your gift, your voice, and it can clog that up. I'd have to go a little deeper to know exactly what it is. But as you report, as you have that conversation, or just as you live this new truth, when you're at a crossroad of choosing which one you go into, that'll resolve. And yours wasn't a big symptom or anything, but the wholeness that you'll bring back into your life, getting to live as your authentic self without the need for validation and with inherent safety, that's the real gift. That's the real healing. And as you live that, that'll bring forth a whole new gift into your life, into your work, into who you are. And yeah, you'll get to embody that, offer that to everyone around you. That relationship with your mom might transform, maybe not in the immediate sense of her response, but in your shift of meaning that you give to her response, that's where the real transformation's done. Then you don't need it and you're just free and your mom's just your mom and you're awesome and your mom's whatever, and then eventually, usually circumstances change where you end up getting more of what you want, but no longer because you need it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's been happening lately. Like our relationship is shifting a little bit, and it's beautiful for me to like just be detached and like, okay, that's your response. Great. I don't need to make it mean anything. I'm noticing it's a process for me for sure. It's not an overnight thing, but yeah, I've been noticing that. It's been
Yeah.
really beautiful to experience.
Amazing.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
It's great. And being able to notice and validate the shifts, even if they're gradual, is huge. A lot of people they miss that part and then they just go back to the old way of being because it's more familiar. We as people just have this inherent distress when we're not in a specific identity, right? Because an identity is the ego's way of saying, this is me, this is the world, I can determine the outcome, I can figure out my safety. But this beautiful space in between dissolving the old identity, the one who needed that validation, and stepping into this new one, that's a beautiful place to be. You're unbecoming and you're letting yourself gradually shift not into just an upgraded ego. That's what most like mindset coaches are selling, but into who you truly are without it. That's why it's not a quick slapping on something else that a lot of other things do, because it's really who you are that gets to occupy your life more. That spirit getting to descend down into the body more as you do that, as you integrate that. We don't need to make ourselves better spiritually. We're already perfect and as God made us. What we need is to resolve these contexts that live within us so that perfect spirit can shine through our life. And as it shines through our life, that's when we get to live in this heaven on earth. Everything gets to come towards us because we recognize we already have it. So anyway, I could go off into the deep metaphysics of it all, but thanks for participating. Thanks for letting us walk through that together.
Yeah, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Yeah. I know we're getting close on time here, so I want to just open it up if there's any questions, any ahas that anyone had. Yeah, if anyone else wants to chime in and ask anything.
Great job, you guys. That was beautiful.
Did anyone else have a release just from watching, being part of it, sitting through some inquiry? You can put it in the chat or come on and share whatever you want.
Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself, ask a question or share a reflection. And I'm able to stay a little bit past 7, so I'm here to chat if you want.
I have a
Be
question for
about
you,
anything.
Grace. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I was just gonna ask Grace kind of what you were sharing with us when Brandon like went offline. I'm just curious your thoughts or perspective on this, but maybe I already know. Do you think like the soul like literally chooses like the life path before it like incarnates here? Like you literally choose all of your challenges, or what the, you know, conscious mind perceives as challenges and suffering?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think it's so tricky because let me feel into this. The way it's come to me before is I do believe that there's certain checkpoints that we're never gonna miss. Like the momentum is too strong, the blueprint is too preordained. Like we're not gonna miss certain blueprint or certain checkpoints, I mean. But sort of like in between those checkpoints, where there's a lot of free will and free agency to be the narrator of a life that is truly unpredictable and is truly unwritten. But then will find ourselves bumping up into those checkpoints at some point. And astrology talks about this. I'm not really big into astrology, but just the whole idea that like even just a Saturn return, like you're going to have to face certain aspects of yourself in that window. And if you were close to the checkpoint already, it might not be such a painful experience. If you veered really far from that next checkpoint, life may yank you towards it and it may be very abrasive. I would be curious what Brandon has to say about this though, because it's not something that I have I can't claim to know the answer.
I wouldn't claim to know the answer either, but from my, spiritual pursuits, I would say a resounding yes, that we choose our parents, we choose our bodies, we choose the life that we come into, and we have those checkpoints of the curriculum that we have. You have a set curriculum, and the free will that you have as a human is your ability to choose. You can choose between the viewpoint of spirit or the viewpoint of ego. And when you choose the viewpoint of ego, which is what you just did in inquiry, I mean, the viewpoint of spirit, sorry, when you choose that to see it through the lens of truth, you can actually collapse time. And so your experience of moving through your curriculum changes. And so you're not exactly avoiding anything or changing it, but you pass through time in a different way. You know, you get to graduate on to the next level of school, right? It's like as if you have to go through K through 8, but kindergarten could feel like 10 years of your life versus if you're using your one power, which is choice. It's through this perception that you have, and you're using all this suffering and these life experiences, these perceived challenges to be liberating. That could condense from 10 years to a 1 year experience, and what that actually looks like might change, might be a little bit different. So you'll get to the curriculum, it's just when and how. Yeah.
I love that answer. And I have something else to say on this because something was coming to me and I wrote it down. Let me gather my thoughts. But just this idea that if we take, like Brandon was just saying, if we take the spiritual perspective, everything is going to be much different and much easier for us. And many teachers that I study from will say, and this is also a Buddhist thing, like our attachment to our bodies is the cause of all suffering. Like the identification with the body is the root of all human suffering. And then, as I said earlier, the body is the subconscious mind, or it's literally an equivalent. It's a manifestation of the subconscious mind. So if the body is the subconscious mind, and the body is the source of all suffering, then our own attachment to our narratives, our beliefs, our subconscious mind, those identities is the source of all suffering. And that suffering shows up in our lives and our bodies. So if the body is the subconscious mind, then we need to not just dissolve those subconscious programs, but we're really called spiritually to no longer identify with it at all. Like I believe that we're called as spirit beings to identify with our spirit. And that's a lot of, the languaging I use is identifying with your beloved identity, identifying in God, in Christ. I like the term beloved identity a lot, but it's when we're really identified with that part of us. That's how, for what Brandon was saying to you, Ashley, the old program, the old whispers, the old narratives with your mom or with the money situation, with your work, it's going to kick up dust. It's going to show up because it's still so much part of your curriculum, and it's not about killing off parts, right? If you do any internal family systems, like there's no bad parts. We're not trying to kill these parts, but it's about, can you have a neutrality and an ability to witness yourself, you know, being led into it, into that story, and not identify with it? Can you be so unified with spirit, with God, with your true self, your beloved identity, that even when that old program kicks up, you have the equanimity to just hold it and just be like, okay, like this is not about to take me over. Like this is not about to seduce me, like the snake in the garden, if you will. It's not going to seduce me out of my Eden. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get seduced real hard.
Oh, we all do. And that's the universal curriculum. There's like we might not be all on like identical paths, but what is identical is that that's the human curriculum. That's why that biblical story is so powerful of the Garden of Eden, because that's literally like that's the setup for all of the human experience, is that that's going to happen. And like, how do you get back to the garden? How do you re-identify? How do you come back to the true self and not let yourself be seduced so easily? How can you just let the whisper be in your ear, but you're still your true self no matter what? And so what did I write here? I wrote that we just have to hold space for those parts and programs while maintaining our connection to God. And what Brandon said is so true. We don't want to just trade our old ego for an upgraded ego. That's why I'm not a proponent of going from I'm not enough to I'm enough, and now I'm attached to the version of me that's like proclaiming I'm enough. I'm not a proponent of self-love, and like I just need to love the self, because that's more perpetuation of that body identification. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, totally, totally. My partner tells me, I don't understand why you continuously pick up hot rocks. Like I don't know either, but I do. I pick up the hot rocks and I'm seduced so hard every time when I'm put back in that dynamic. But it makes sense. Like I'm aware of it. It's just like breaking that loop or like that pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good. You're the fourth horse. Have you heard that Chinese parable?
No, it's the fourth horse.
It's a my I'm a five element Taoist acupuncturist, and my teacher is like a Zen Buddhist priest. So everything he taught was a parable, and he would always tell me, "You're the fourth horse," and I was like, so he told me the story. It's like an old Buddhist parable of these four horses going up a mountain, and they all have their horse rider, the person leading the horse. And the first horse goes straight up, no complaints, doesn't need to be whipped. The second horse goes straight up at the very end, kind of wants to detour a little bit, like gets whipped once by the master and goes up the mountain. The third horse takes a few winding paths, but like after enough punishment, it finally submits and goes up the mountain. The fourth horse does not take correction for shit. Like it doesn't matter how much it's being kicked or whipped or yelled at. Like it goes all the way around the mountain like 7 times before it decides that it's gonna, of its own accord, its own free will, like go up the mountain at some point on its own timing. And it takes, a year to get that horse up the mountain, and everyone else has been waiting. But the fourth horse has the most wisdom and has seen the most and has the most perspective.
Okay, I like that. I'm definitely the fourth horse.
Yeah, and that's what makes you a great healer, and you have to trust yourself that that's an intentional part of your curriculum.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a few other fourth horses in here. Perfect. We're in good company. There's another question in the chat.
The fourth horse, that's their new band name.
You can take this
Yeah.
one.
Can you speculate and expand upon how does the energy of our mind transform into words and find expression through our body in every conversation? Well, because words have inherent meaning to them, right? Like if I tell you to go fuck yourself in a language you don't understand, it's not going to really do anything, right? But if it's a word that you understand, sorry, I don't know why I use that as an example, but I could have said I love you, I guess. It would have been nicer. But it'll bring up a nervous system reaction based off of the meaning that you have assigned to it, right? And so when you um yeah, or speaking words or words are being spoken to you, it's going to express through your body in every conversation. You hear something that triggers you, that means a certain thing to you, right? There's what the person said, and then there's what you heard. And so you're hearing through the subconscious filter, and then that is having energy move through your body, which can express in a symptom, it could express in a twitch, it could express in a verbal response that you want to give. It'll do all of those various things. I don't know if that's exactly what you were asking. That was my take on it. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Oh, he's saying that it's how I pointed out that the body is our subconscious mind. Yeah, I also think that everything Brandon said I agree with, and also I think that oftentimes our language is like Brandon's whole concept of serving the subconscious, like we speak and behave in such a way to almost garner some kind of like sympathy for whatever victimhood we're in. Right? So it's like, just pay attention to how you're talking about your life. Like, are you always talking about how tired you are? Okay, that's me, by the way. So like, if you're always talking about how exhausted you are, that's some part of you that never felt like it deserved rest. And it's wondering that maybe the 20th person that hears how tired you are and tells you to rest, like you'll finally rest. Or it's the part of you that's like, oh, like my health issues are flaring, I'm flaring, I'm flaring, I'm flaring. That person is seeking sympathy. They're still in the loop of seeking validation for that very prison we've been talking about, that very identity that I'm only loved when I'm being helped. And it's because I was always waiting for my mom to help me or my dad to come home and take care of me. So then I'm like hoping that people that I come across will see me in my suffering and offer some kind of love that I think I can get when I'm a victim to my health issues. I mean, I work with a lot of patients and clients, and people will straight up tell me at a certain point in our work together, yeah, I use my health issues to get support and love that I don't think is otherwise coming to me. And when we get that honest with ourselves, we're really close to freedom.
Mhm.
Does that make sense, William? Okay, he says yes.
Yeah. And one thing that one of my teachers always said was that the body is held within the mind, that the mind has created the experience of the body. Most people think of the mind being something that's held within the brain and the brain being something that's held within the body. But the brain is within the body, but the body is within the mind. And so that's why the symptoms and physicality is an expression of the subconscious, because that's what's, you could say, if there's a projector of who you are as a soul, your essence, and it's projecting out into this holographic universe that then creates the simulation of this physical body, that's made through the mind, right? And so that's how it happens to express, show up. Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. Yeah. Anyone else? Any last questions?
It's like free coaching. We're kind of expensive, so take your chances.
Mm,
Just kidding.
high value.
Any other questions?
Hey, hi, I do have a question.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi, sorry it's a bit late where I am. Thank you so much for this session. I honestly have I hope this doesn't sound contradiction here. So I also believe that detaching from your body is the way to go. But I have also been working a lot with shamanic practices and indigenous wisdom, and they actually try to bring you back to your body, especially if you have been sexually abused, which has been my case. So really sensing and not bypassing my emotions. So I guess I'm just wondering, since I'm in this path of towards liberation, and I'm really enjoying feeling far more free than I used to be just before meeting Brandon. So how do you detach from your body, but at the same time make sure that you are not bypassing, because again, the body is information. Yeah, just that.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering if there's a little bit of confusion in the message because we're not bypassing the body. We're going into it to understand it more, right? It's about being with the sensations, which isn't the same thing as just playing out a story and rehearsing it. It's being with the actual underlying sensation that's underneath the memory, right? A lot of people go into their trauma and try to process it or think about it or work it out. But when you go a little deeper into that underlying somatic sense where there's that context that I'm not enough, whatever it is, and then the underlying identity that lives beneath it, that's all found through that sensation. So you're not disassociating from the body or bypassing it. You're bringing the spirit deeper into it through inquiry, through this awareness, through this examination. Sometimes there's modalities or practices that expand you beyond the body, like if you were doing plant medicine or something, but that requires you to then have integration to actually do something with it and for it to actually be lasting healing. So there can sometimes be benefit to expanding your awareness beyond the body, but we always come back to the body for integration and action and living it. I don't know if that answers what you're asking or not.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I'm just in my integration phase, and I'm just struggling into, okay, how do I bring this into matter? Thank you so much.
Nicole, let me add to this just to see if it helps. Everything Brandon said, I agree with, but
yeah, absolutely.
So same as he's saying. So the whole point of integrated somatic inquiry, the whole somatic piece is that the body is the path to freedom. The body, you have to go through the body. So we don't want to dissociate with the body. Maybe I'm glad you're asking this. It gives us a chance to clarify. We're talking about your identity being in spirit, or some people might say in Christ, in God, in your true self, your higher self,
yes,
whatever that is. So we want the identity to be held in that plane. And as Brandon said, that makes our curriculum much easier, to identify that way. But we have to go through the body to actually have like heaven on earth in our lives. So for example, like let me just see if this image helps. Like we're going to go into the body, Nicole, right? In inquiry, right? We're going to go deep into the body, into the sensations that are linked to memories, and we're going to use the body as a tool through the feelings, the emotions, and the sensations to take us to the subconscious mind. And then we're going to work with the subconscious beliefs that were programmed and conditioned without our conscious awareness, and we're going to dissolve and that's pretty much it. It's not about upgrading the ego. We're just dissolving what's false in the subconscious mind so that when we come back to the body is literally going to manifest a completely different experience of health and of this reality, because we went through the body, like alchemized in the subconscious, and then we're coming back to the body a completely new being. And so whether you want to take what some coaches say is like the body is the subconscious mind, or I also like what Brandon says, like the body is in the mind, whatever you believe, your body will be different. Like once you've gone through the body to the subconscious mind, that's what reprograms the body. So you have a different, more expanded experience of your spirit as a human. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. Sorry, I think so. My problem is I think I have just been spending too much time outside my body.
Yeah.
So it's again like, how do I, with all this wisdom that I'm getting and symbolism and like kind of turning into other planes, it's like, okay, how do I bring this into matter, because I'm struggling in there. But thank you so much. This is really clarifying.
The last thing I'll leave you with, Nicole, is I want you to realize that there's actually no spiritual difference or difference of importance between washing your dishes and doing a shamanic underworld journey. Like, how can you be?
Both of them are sacred.
I want you to align your intention with your attention as much as you can throughout the day. And that's something like nobody does. So that's spiritual mastery, is if you're intending to wash the dishes, your attention is on the dishes. If you're intending to meditate and have some kind of shamanic ritual, your attention is there. And then when you come out of it, if you're intending to shower, like your attention is just being in the shower, and like that is more profound integration understanding than people will tell you. Like, it's chop wood, carry water. Like, don't forget that it's the mundane moments that that are the mastery.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that validation.
You're welcome, hun.
Okay, awesome. And I gotta hop off here soon, but I just wanted to throw in here at the end that this is the work that I'm teaching in my upcoming certification program. I'll be teaching energy work, meditation tools, how to tap into your own intuition, because if you could tell, like when I'm doing inquiry, it's very intuitively led. That's how I can get a sense of what the underlying context is, what the program is. I'm following the language, the symptoms, empowering the client to have that wisdom, but it's very intuitively led. It's not a script, and that's really important. So in my cert, I teach that, and then I teach how to do this inquiry process for your own healing, but also in a professional manner, how to practice it and use it with others. And using it with others is sometimes the fastest path to your own healing. When I first started as an intuitive, that was just part of the program. You did readings for other people because that was your way to see a pattern over and over again until it became really clear to you. Kind of like Ashley was saying, like, why do I keep grabbing the hot stone? Because there's still utility in it. There's still a belief that it does something for you, that it gets you something. When you've seen that in 5 clients in a row that week, because that's how the universe organizes itself, you're like, ah, oh, fuck, okay, I can't see the utility in this anymore because I just saw 5 reiterations of where it's not true, it doesn't get them anywhere, and it doesn't work. You see it in the other, they're your mirror. It's a little easier than trying to see it in your own supercharged up life. And so you find your own liberation much more quickly. And then you also can apply it to yourself after each session. So I won't go too deep into that. My cert's pretty world class, I believe, in the sense that it has actual practice spaces where you get to practice with students. And then eventually with people from the public, you get to build a lot of certainty in actually being able to do this. So just throwing that shameless plug in there at the end. But otherwise, that's all for me. Thank you all so much for being here. It's fun getting to play with the subconscious with you.
Any other questions? Last call before I plug myself and then we hop off. Anybody want to ask anything? All right, friends. Well, you can work with me one-on-one. I'm really deepening into couples coaching, relationship focus. If you're in California, please find me, reach out to me, social media. I might even just put my phone number in the chat because this is such an intimate space and I feel connected to you all here.
I'll
So
tag you in the replay and put all your info too.
yeah, feel free to literally text me. I care about you guys. This is an intimate container. I don't mind sharing my phone number. But yeah, you can work with me one-on-one. If you're in California, please find a way to come see me in person because the Taoist shamanic acupuncture that I practice combined with inquiry is blowing my own mind with the results that I'm getting. And I really, really believe in that combination. But also if you're not in California, you can work with me online as some people in the space do. And I also have my own coaching academy that I'm launching in the fall. It's obviously very different from Brandon because we're different coaches, but it's similar in that I'm teaching the somatic inquiry process and I'm taking you through a one-on-one mentorship for 3 months where you work with me very closely. So you can learn the coaching techniques and the spiritual coaching style that I offer, and you receive a lot of one-on-one support from me. So that's this 3-month coaching academy that's coming up. But other than that, I just do a lot of one-on-one work. That's my lifeblood, and my in-person practice is really profound too if you can make it to San Diego, but I also treat all over the state. So yeah. it's so great to see you all. This has been such a beautiful experience. Thanks for hanging with us through tech issues, and my microphone like blew out earlier, but so, you know, but the spirit the spirit wanted us to do this, and we made it through.
How we know it was a powerful one. All the tech stuff blew up and tried to stop it.
Yeah, yeah. Our identities were trying to tell us that, you know, we shouldn't be doing this, but here we are. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, Grace. Yeah, maybe you'll come and guest teach in my program too and pop in and say hi and share your wisdom.
I'd love that. Yeah, likewise.
All right, y'all. Have a great night.
Take
See you
care.
after
Well,
in
thank
tomorrow.
you. Thank
Oh,
you.
nice to see you, Kaylee. Nice to see you, everyone. Thank you, Jenny, for participating with me. Best of luck with everything. Bye.